I just took a 60-minute video transcript and turned it into 8 different pieces of content in 2 minutes. A LinkedIn newsletter, a blog post, 6 social media posts, ready to go. And the best part, the input was content I already created, so it sounds like me, not like obvious AI-generated garbage. I'm Rob Fernango, and today I'm showing you the content repurposing system that I built in Make.com and Claude AI. You're going to see exactly how it works, why I built it this way, and most importantly, how to think strategically about content repurposing so you're not just churning out watered down content that nobody wants to read. Look, if you're creating any kind of long form content, videos, podcasts, live sessions, you know the pain of content repurposing. You spend hours creating something valuable, and then you're supposed to turn it into newsletter articles and blog posts and social media content, and it just sits there. Because who really has time to manually rewrite the same content 8 different ways? So most people do one of 2 things. They either skip repurposing altogether and leave money on the table, or they use AI to crank out generic summaries that sound exactly like every other AI-generated post out there. Both options suck. So here's what I wanted, a system that takes content I've already created in my voice, drafts it into multiple formats, and still requires me to review and approve everything before it goes live. Because the goal isn't to automate posting, the goal is to automate the first draft. So I can spend my time refining and adding my insights, not staring at a blank page. And that's what this workflow does. Before we look at the workflow, let me show you why this approach works. This is a transcript from a 60-minute training session I did for my membership. It's about 30,000 words of content that I already created. Now watch what happens when I run it through the workflow. Now I've got a complete LinkedIn newsletter draft. It's structured, it's formatted, and it's ready for my review before it gets posted onto LinkedIn. I also get 6 different social media posts for LinkedIn and Facebook. Some of these are carousel concepts, some are static image posts, but they all come with captions, hashtag recommendations, and image specifications. And I get a full blog post. Now here's what makes this different from just asking ChatGPT to summarize the transcript. First, it's not generic. The workflow includes my target audience description, my brand positioning, my content pillars, and my tone of voice. The AI knows exactly who I'm talking to and how I communicate. Second, the input is content I already created. It's my expertise, my examples, and my voice. The AI isn't making anything up, it's just reformatting what I already said. Third, it's not trying to be hands-off. Every output is a draft. I still review it, I still add my insights, and I still make it better. But I'm starting from 80% done instead of 0. And fourth, it's consistent. Same input, same quality output every single time. This is the smart way to think about AI and content repurposing. All right, let me show you how this is actually built. This is what the workflow looks like in Make.com. And I know this might look complex at first glance, but stick with me. You're literally just connecting the boxes together. If you can play with Legos, you can build this. So here's the high-level flow. 1. The workflow starts when I upload a transcript to a specific Google Drive folder. 2. Make.com grabs that transcript and loads my business context documents, who my audience is, how I position myself, what my content themes are, and how I write. And 3, it sends everything to Claude AI, which creates multiple outputs based on different prompts that I've built. 4th, each output gets saved to my Google Drive, organized and ready for me to review. That's it. 4 main steps. The complexity you're seeing is just because we're creating multiple different content types at the same time. So let me walk you through the actual modules. But before I do that, I need to say that I am a Make.com affiliate. So if you purchase a subscription through the link in the description below, I'll make a commission at no extra cost to you. But I would recommend this platform anyway because I find it really easy to use and very affordable. All right. So let's start going through the workflow step by step, and we'll begin with module 1, the trigger. We start with the Google Drive Watch Files module, and this is just monitoring a specific folder for new files. When I drop a transcript in there, the workflow is going to kick off, take that file, and start running it through all the processes that we have set up. In module 2, we need to get the contents of that transcript, and to do that, we use a get content of a document module for Google Docs. This grabs the actual text of the transcript so we can work with it. Make.com just needs this step because the first module just notices that the file exists. This one actually reads what's inside of it. Now here's where it gets interesting. And this is what separates good AI outputs from generic garbage. These 4 modules here are all get content of a document modules, all from Google Docs. And each one is loading a specific knowledge document about my business. Module 3 loads my target audience description, who I'm talking to, what their challenges are, what language resonates with them, whatever I need to know about my audience. Module 4 loads my brand positioning and messaging. It's how I differentiate myself and what my unique value is and the key messages that I want to reinforce. Module 5 loads in my content pillars. These are the main themes and topics that I focus on and what my audience expects from me. And then in Module 6, I load my tone of voice description, how I write, what phrases I use, and what style feels authentic to me. And this is critical because without these documents, the AI would just produce generic content that sounds like every other business account on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube. With these documents, the AI understands my specific business context and it can tailor every output to match my voice and audience. So if you're building something like this for yourself, these knowledge documents are where you'll spend most of your setup time because once they're done, they work for every piece of content you repurpose. Now, next up in the workflow is a router module. And this is where the workflow splits into multiple paths. Think of it like a decision point that says, execute this path first, then this one, then this one. The router processes each content type in sequence, starting with the top path and then working its way down. This sequential approach is important because of how we're managing the API limits, which I'll explain in a second. Now, I'm going to go through one path in this workflow. You'll notice that there are 4 paths that are all basically the same. So I'm going to start at the top here with my LinkedIn newsletter path, and I'll show you exactly what happens in that path. At the beginning of each content path, after the first one, you'll see a sleep module set to 75 seconds. And here's why. My Claude API has a 30,000 token per minute limit, and each of these prompts is sending about 20,000 tokens. So when you include the transcript and all the business context and documents together, it's a lot of information. So if we try to run these back to back without a delay, when you get to the second or third path, that hits the rate limit and Claude throws an error. The 75-second sleep module ensures that we get a fresh token limit for each content creation path. By the time we start the next path, the rate limit is reset and we can process everything smoothly. It means the whole workflow takes about 6 to 7 minutes to complete in reality instead of 2 minutes, but it runs reliably every single time without errors. All right, now the next module in the workflow is a create a prompt module for Claude AI. And this module lets me choose which Claude model I want to use. In this case, I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.5 because it handles long documents well and gives me consistent quality. I can provide a system prompt that defines how Claude should behave, send it the transcript and all my business documents, and get the response back. The prompt I built here is specifically designed for LinkedIn newsletters that creates a structured article format with a hook, clear sections, and a strong call to action, all while maintaining my voice and speaking to my specific audience. Now, if we back out here and you take a look at this again, you'll notice that the same pattern repeats for each content type. We have a sleep module that's followed by the create a prompt module for Claude, and then we send the results to save out to a Google Doc. Each path has its own create a prompt module with a specific prompt designed for that format. Now, the blog post prompt focuses on SEO optimization and longer form educational content. The social media prompts create shorter engagement focused posts, some designed as carousel concepts and others as static image posts. Each one gets copy, caption suggestions, image specifications, and relevant hashtags. Now, you might be wondering, why separate the prompts for each format instead of one big prompt that does everything? And there's 2 reasons for this. 1, it's more reliable. Each prompt has one job and it does that job consistently. 2, it's easier to improve. If my LinkedIn newsletters aren't hitting the mark, I can tweak that one prompt without breaking everything else. And finally, in the workflow, you'll notice that each output, as I mentioned, gets saved using the Create a Document module for Google Docs. This creates a new Google Doc for each piece of content and saves it to my organized folder structure. LinkedIn newsletters go in one place, blog posts go in another, and social media posts go in a third. Everything's ready for me to review, refine, and schedule. All right, before we go further, if you're finding this valuable, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I test AI workflows like this every week so you can actually see what works for small business owners. No hype, no frills, just honest results. All right, now let's talk about the practical reality of using this system. Here's what I need you to understand about this workflow. This is not a set it and forget it posting system. I'm not automatically publishing any of this content. Every single piece gets reviewed by me before it goes anywhere. Why? Because the goal isn't to flood the internet with more AI-generated content. We've got enough of that garbage already. The goal is to save time on the first draft so you can spend your energy on what actually matters, adding your unique insights, refining the message, and making sure it sounds like you. So here's my actual process. First, the workflow runs and creates all the drafts. Second, I review each piece. Sometimes I use 90% of what Claude wrote. Sometimes I use 30% and heavily rewrite it. It just depends on the content. Third, I add images where needed. The workflow gives me image specifications, but I'm creating or selecting those images myself. Fourth, I schedule everything manually through my normal posting process. This is about efficiency, not automation for automation's sake. The biggest mistake I see people make with AI content systems is removing the human too early in the process. Your audience can tell. They can absolutely tell when you're just hitting post on whatever the AI spits out. So keep yourself in the loop. Use AI to handle the grunt work, but bring your expertise to the final product. And remember, you're already 10x ahead of people who are using AI to generate their original content from scratch. Why? Because your input is content you already created. Your expertise, your examples, your voice. The AI isn't inventing anything. It's just reformatting what you already said into different outputs. That's fundamentally different from asking AI to write your content for you. So what's the actual return on building something like this? Well, time-wise, before this workflow, it would take me 4 to 5 hours to manually repurpose one piece of long-form content into all these formats. Now, the workflow runs in about 6 minutes. I spend maybe 30 to 45 minutes reviewing and refining everything. That's an 80 to 85% time savings. Money-wise, if you're paying someone to repurpose your content, you're probably spending $200 to $500 per piece, depending on the quality and the quantity. This workflow cost me about $1 in API calls to Claude. And the Make.com free subscription can run this workflow easily, and the core paid subscription is only $9.99 a month, so it pays for itself after the first few runs. But here's the real ROI: consistency. Before this, I'd create content and then, well, probably not repurpose it because it felt overwhelming. There was so much to do. And now I actually do it regularly. And that means more touch points with my audience, more ways for people to discover my content, and more opportunities to provide value in the formats that my audience prefers. So let me summarize the big ideas here. 1. Smart content repurposing isn't about automation. It's about creating a system for the draft process so you can focus on refinement. 2. Different content formats need different prompts. Don't try to cram everything into one mega prompt. 3. Context is everything. Those business knowledge documents are what make your output sound like you instead of generic AI. 4. Keep the human in the loop. Your voice, your insights, your final approval. That's what makes the content valuable. And 5. This looks way more complex than it actually is. You're connecting modules in Make.com and feeding prompts to Claude. If I can build this in about a day, you can too. Now, if you want to see more workflows like this, practical AI systems that actually save you time without sacrificing quality, I've got videos on building business reporting agents and automating customer inquiry responses and using AI for data analysis. And if Make.com feels like too much to tackle right now, I'm working on a simplified version of this video using Claude projects and custom GPTs that anyone can set up in about 5 minutes. So subscribe now so you don't miss that content when it comes out. Remember, the goal isn't to use AI to replace your expertise. It's to use AI to amplify it. You've already done the hard work of creating the original content, your voice, your expertise, and your insights. This workflow just reformats that expertise into different outputs so more people can benefit from what you've already built. So stop spending hours on first drafts. Let the system handle that. You focus on making it brilliant. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.